As a grower or producer, have you ever put your input plan together for your corn or soybeans and thought, who has all the risk in this input decision? I'm Jason Nelson, Field Services Sales Manager for WinField United in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and we're going to spend the next 15 minutes here at the Santiago, Minnesota answer plot talking about Advanced Acre Management System, which is a system where we try to drive yield using the right input decisions and management practices, while also managing the risk on your farm using an up to 105% APH warranty to back those data-backed decisions. Joining me today are going to be Will Mangan and Mike Anderson, and they're going to talk in depth more about how we make those decisions and in general. I'm going to start today talking about the Advanced Acre prescription program. So 5 seconds ago I just mentioned that, and probably it's the first time I've ever heard that. So what is Advanced Acre? So Advanced Acre is our systems approach to yield. So we know through 20 plus years of answer plot data and 6 million data points that we collect every year, there are certain products and certain management practices that drive yield at a predictable basis. Advanced Acre takes that data and insight and put it into a service warranty program where we put a prescription on your farm that we think is going to drive yield, and we stand behind it with a warranty of up to 105% of your APH, because we're so confident in the products and the results that we will stand behind it. So we're at the plot. Let's go take a look live at what the corn looks like. So we're going to start down here at what we call our standard treatment. So this is a treatment where we're trying to grow county average corn. So the county average corn yield in Sherburne County, Minnesota, where we're at today, is about 185 bushels. So if you look at this corn, these 4 rows, we're trying to replicate that through typical grower practices that growers in this part of the world are implementing on their farm. So if we look over here, this is a little snapshot of what we're doing. So the hybrid we planted is called 3735 Double Pro. It's a cropland hybrid. We planted it at 30,000 seeds per acre. And for fertilizer, we used 160 pounds of nitrogen up front with 15 pounds of sulfur. We used removal rates of potassium and phosphorus. And when it came to weed control, we basically used a really solid pre and post. So ultimately what we did here is plant corn and kill weeds, right? So we're going to step in and then we're going to talk about some of the things we're noticing. So the first thing I see when we planted corn, this plant was planted in the middle of April. Even though we had really good conditions the first couple inches on top, we noticed a lot of cool and wet soils underneath. So we planted in not perfect conditions. This treatment didn't have an in-furrow starter package, so there's no 1034-0. So the first thing I notice, and if you step back here, you can see maybe a little bit of an uneven ear set, probably driven by uneven emergence. And I look at, we have an ear here, an ear here, and an ear here. And really we want to shoot for that tabletop ear placement. The other thing, because we used all of our nitrogen up front, we didn't manage it in season. And so some of the things that I noticed right away were some nitrogen deficiency, and it's showing up higher in the ear plant than maybe we're going to talk about when we get to our standard treatment. And if you step back, you can really see through the plants. We see nitrogen firing a lot higher in the plants than we're going to see down at the standard or the 100% treatment. So that's the standard treatment. I call it planting corn and killing weeds. So now we're going to take a step back to the other side and look at our 100% APH warranty treatment. So as we step in here, I'll take a step back and show you what we did. So this is our systems approach to yield, and these are some of the things that we know are going to drive yield on a consistent basis. So we use that same 3735 hybrid. It's a high performing hybrid at the same planting population, but we used first off we used a starter, a 1034-0 zinc micronutrient and Ascend plant growth promoter treatment in the starter tank. When we came back and sprayed our herbicide, we used a Maxin ZMB product. That's a micronutrient. And when we came back at tassel, we used a premium fungicide with the proper adjuvants and Maxin boron. So this is our standard treatment that we look for to driving yield consistently. The other thing is we used a little bit lighter rate of nitrogen up front. So it's 120 versus 160 pounds, so 40 less pounds up front. But we managed it in season by adding additional nitrogen at the proper timing using our field forecasting tool to tell us that timing and that rate. So let's step into the plants and we'll talk about what we're seeing. So again, the first thing I noticed, because we used that pop-up starter with zinc and ascend, I think we saw more even emergence. And we see that when we look at the ear set, and it's a much more tabletop appearance. This is much more what we're looking for. The other thing is we look at the plants in general, I see a lot less nitrogen firing. And that's coming from managing our nitrogen in season with field forecasting tool. Now, it's oftentimes we're not necessarily using more nitrogen, but we're using nitrogen at the right time to make sure that that input decision that you're using is at the right time and is going to give you an economical return. So let's step back out and we'll look at the comparison. So this is our standard treatment. And if you had 30,000 of these plants in your field, you might be pretty happy with it. We got a really good solid ear. It's a pretty good looking plant. There's some nitrogen firing. But if you didn't have something out there to compare it to, you might not know. So this is our standard, or this is our 100% APH treatment. Okay, so somebody always told me that comparison is the thief of joy. Now if you look at this, a couple things I noticed. Again, on our standard treatment, we have a lot more nitrogen firing, and we have it firing higher in the plant. And with our 100% APH treatment, we have a higher ear set, and you can't really see very good, but we also have a higher plant. Okay, so that's the benefit of managing our nitrogen with a side dress application at the right timing, and using our starter zinc ascend product in furrow. So let's talk about what that means to yield. So here we grabbed 5 ears from each treatment. So here's that standard treatment. This is our plant, corn, and kill weeds. And here you can see what I talked about and I showed you earlier with maybe an uneven ear set. And we see that in maybe some ears that are, this one's about 7 inches of actual grain. And this one's only down to 5. So we have a lot more inconsistency. When we look at our 100% APH treatment, we see a lot more consistency in the ear size, in the ear set. The other thing we see is we're adding sometimes even 1 pair or 2 pairs of rows around, of kernels around. So not only adding length and consistency, but we're also adding girth. And so what does that mean on your farm? So here we did some economics on the treatments. So here's our standard and here's our 100% APH treatment. Doing some conservative hand yield checks, we see we got 163 bushel yield on our standard treatment. So again, pretty close to our county average. When we used our system, our 100% APH warranty system, we got 201 bushels. Obviously we added revenue as we're adding almost 40 bushels of yield. Now what does this mean to your farm? So even though we added bushels, right, we also added cost. So our program cost, our standard treatment program cost versus our 100% APH warranty cost was almost $90 more for the 100% APH warranty. So even spending $90 more, we added net revenue of almost $20 an acre with this program. So when we're looking at this demo, we're not only trying to show you how we can add yield, we can also show you how you can make your farm more profitable and bring your cost to produce a bushel down. When we step back and look at some of our data, so this is data from 2019, and here we're looking at, again, the same San Diego area, and we're looking at what's our state average. So our state average yield last year was 174 bushels in Minnesota. When we look at the APHs, the approved history of growers in this program, so this Advanced Acre pilot program this year, the average APH was 212 bushels. Okay, so we know that the growers that are working with our system today are out-indexing the state yield average. When we look at the system in general that we talk about, when we look at our highest performing 100-day hybrids using our system in Minnesota, that's where we get to this 255 bushel average. That was our average yield on those high performing hybrids last year. So when we tie it all back together, you're probably looking at that and saying, hey, Jason, that looks really good, right? I want to add 40 bushels to my corn. But folks have been coming on my farm for the past 10 years and saying, hey, I got a product that can do this, and I got a product that can do that, and we think it's going to add this yield. Okay? And in that scenario, you have all the risk in trying those products. With Advanced Acre, we're so confident in the results of this, we're so confident in the data and our expertise that we're going to stand behind this system with up to 105% APH warranty. Because we know that if you're doing all this, you're going to have a high probability of response, and we're so confident that we're going to stand behind it with that warranty program. So, as I talked about how we make the decisions, I'm going to turn it over to Will Mangan, and he's going to talk about some of the pieces we use to make those decisions.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, my name's Will Mangan. I'm Jason's counterpart out in western Minnesota, and I'm actually going to talk today about what we use to make these decisions. If you think about the 20 to 40 decisions you have to make in every single given year, we have certain tools and certain insights that we can use to help you make those decisions. The first thing I want to point out here is these different ears that I have laying on the table here. And in our answer plot program, we have different response to scores. We have a response to population, a response to nitrogen, and a response to fungicide. And what that means is that the higher the response, the more the economical the response is on that specific application. Now, if we take a look at these ears, in the gold treatment that I have here on your guys' left-hand side, this got a fungicide and it got as much nitrogen as it needed. It was planted at 42,000 plants per acre. If we look at the right one, we see that it also had 42,000 plants per acre, but did not get as much nitrogen as it needed, and it did not get a fungicide. And what we notice here is that we got a little bit more tip back on the silver, and also we actually have more rows around on the gold. But what does that actually mean to you guys? In every single scenario, in every single one of our hybrids that we have out here at our about 200 answer plots nationwide, we have different response to scores for every field and every situation to hopefully help you make the right decision. And whether if you're a paper guy, if you like looking at it on a computer, we have this thing that we call the R7 tool. It's a digital platform that by search or by area, you can actually see which hybrids are going to perform best in your area and what management practices you can actually use to get the best performance out of them. The next thing that we use is what we call the field forecasting tool, and it's an in-season nutrient management tool. And what I want to point out here is that specific tool. It's a nitrogen modeling tool, but there's a lot of different factors that go into modeling. So you guys can see here, if we go to the ground here, we have about 0.5% organic matter soil, so not much going on here. But when we look at nitrogen, that makes it even more important that we get the nitrogen in and on the plant, in and up in the plant when we need it. But what we do with the field forecasting tool that's unique in the industry is that we use our tissue samples. And what you can see is I have 4 different tissue sample results pointed out here. I have the 100% APH treatment, or AARX treatment, and you can see here, as Jason was mentioning earlier, is that we made sure that we gave it in-season nitrogen when it needed it. And you can see we were about sufficient at the R2 stage just a couple weeks ago when we took these samples. When we go down to the standard treatment, where we uploaded the nitrogen all up front, you can see that we're actually deficient in nitrogen at the end of the year. And when Jason showed those plants, you could see that lower firing of the leaves. And he pointed out the differences that we had in yield with our yield estimates as of today. That's one of many decisions that you guys are making, those 20-40 decisions throughout the year, that we can use our tools and our data points to help you get through the season. With that, to wrap it up, I'm going to have Mike Anderson join me to take us home.
Thanks, Will. So like Will said, my name is Mike Anderson, and I'm fortunate to be on the services team helping build and develop and bring some of these new concepts to market. So Will and Jason did a really good job talking about some of the things as a grower you'd experience if you're enrolled in Advanced Acre Rx. I want to take a minute to zoom out a little bit and talk to some of the reasons on why we feel this is so important, not only for our grower customers, but also the WinField United system. So I think there's a couple really big trends going on in agriculture right now. First and foremost, uncertainty is always a part of farming, but with things like COVID and trade issues and geopolitical things like that, and also wildly volatile commodity markets, I think uncertainty is as high as it's ever been in agriculture. On top of that, you've got a tremendous amount of innovation occurring right now in the space. So you've got more soybean products than ever, you've got more soybean traits than ever, you've got more fungicide options, more herbicide options, and they're all coming at a time where it's almost overwhelming to the farmer of which one makes the most sense for my particular situation. To make that even more complicated, when you drive down the road or look in a farm magazine or listen on the radio, everyone's saying their product or their thing is 4 bushel better than everyone else's product or thing. So as a farmer, how are you supposed to make the right decision for your particular situation? And that's what we're really all about with Advanced Acre Rx. Help take some of that uncertainty off the table and help you make the best decision possible via a systems approach backed by a performance warranty of up to 105% APH. So with that being said, you're probably curious on how WinField and our system is able to do this and bring this to your farm. I think it really comes down to 3 things. It's data, it's technology, and it's expertise. So first and foremost on the data piece, we're sitting in the Santiago answer plot today, and this is one of nearly 200 sites across the United States where we collect 6 million data points a year. And really the reason for those data points is to sort through all that confusion and all that choice in the industry and provide you the information and insights you need to figure out what makes the most sense for your particular situation as a farmer. And secondly, there's definitely a technology piece. Some things in farming, like a weed problem or a stand issue or insects, they're really easy to spot with the naked eye. What we're trying to get with our technology is model and predict and uncover things that you can't see with the naked eye so that we can take action before they manifest themselves in your field. Because once they show up in your field, it's either impacted yield or an opportunity is lost. So we're trying to get on the front end of that with our technology tools to help you make the best decisions possible. And then finally, there's an expertise component. There's a lot of new entrants and new organizations coming into agriculture right now, and a lot of them take the view that a new technology tool or a new offering is there to replace a local relationship or local expertise. WinField United with Advanced Acre Rx and our retail network, we're taking a different approach. We want this to be another tool in that local agronomist tool belt, so when they're sitting down with you, having a conversation on what makes the most sense for your particular situation as a farmer, this is another unique thing they can bring to the table. Again, to help take some uncertainty off the table and sort through which decision makes the most sense for your farm. So with that being said, I appreciate your time today, and if you want to learn more and you're curious to find out more, I'd encourage you to reach out to your local WinField United aligned retailer or check out the website at winfieldunited.com. Thank you for your time.